on the dais. Ms. Ishani Shandalya ji, ma'am, please join us. We have with us Mr. Don McLean Gill. So I'm requesting Mr. Gill to please join us on the dais. Our next panelist is Ms. Revati Pillai. So I'm requesting Ms. Pillai to please come onto the dais. We have with us Mr. Mohyuddin Muhammad Ali from Muscat. So I'm requesting Mr. Ali. And Ms. Nicola Pandey from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm requesting Ms. Nicola Pandey ji to kindly join us on the dais. And our moderator of the session, Shri Bini Bansal ji, co-founder Flipkart. I'm requesting Shri Bansal ji to kindly join us on the dais. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll felicitate and welcome our Honorable Minister Sir by presenting him a bouquet. माननीय मंत्री जी का मंच पर पुष्पगुच्छ भेंट करके हम अभिनंदन करेंगे। मैं आप सबसे निवेदन करूंगी, इस स्वागत में आप सब हमारे साथ हों। कर्तव्य ध्वनि के साथ हम स्वागत कर रहे हैं माननीय युवा कार्यक्रम एवं खेल मंत्री भारत सरकार डॉक्टर मनसुख मांडविया जी का। Thank you, sir. We now welcome Mr. Y.B. Prabhakaran, our panelist. We'll now present a bouquet to Ms. Ishani Shandalya ji. We welcome Mr. Don McLean Gill from Philippines by presenting him a bouquet. We are now welcoming Ms. Revati Pillai. And now Mr. Mohyuddin Muhammad Ali. We'll felicitate him by presenting a bouquet. And our last panelist, Ms. Nicola Pandey ji. We welcome you, ma'am, in this session. And we are now presenting a bouquet to Ms. Nicola Pandey from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you once again in Youth Pravasi Bharatiya Divas on the occasion of 18th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. And now we begin our plenary session, Beyond Borders, Diaspora Youth Leadership in a Globalized World. As I was mentioning earlier, Honorable Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, Dr. Mansoor Mandaviya ji will chair the session. Shri Bini Bansal, co-founder of Flipkart, will be the moderator. And let me introduce our panelists to you. We have Mr. Y.B. Prabhakaran ji. He's from Malaysia. He's a Malaysian politician, member of Parliament from Batu, member of the People's Justice Party, and we have been told that he is the youngest MP ever of the Indian diaspora. Welcome to Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Our next panelist is Ms. Ishani Shandalya from Hong Kong. She's a business analyst, HSBC Global Services Hong Kong. She's a technology graduate trainee, Digital Business Services Hong Kong. Welcome to the program, ma'am. Our next panelist is Mr. Don McLean Gill from Philippines. He's a lecturer, Department of International Studies, De La Salle University. Mr. Gill specializes in Philippine foreign policy, India Southeast Asian security relations, and maritime security cooperation in the Indo-Pacific and India Southeast Asian relations. Welcome to the program. We have with us Ms. Revati Pillai from South Africa. She's IT business analyst and Southside Radio FM presenter, dynamic youth ambassador, and a radio personality dedicated to empowering youth voices. Welcome to the program, Ms. Revati Pillai ji. Our next panelist is Mr. Mohyuddin Muhammad Ali from Muscat. Mr. Ali is Vice Chairman, Gulfi Engineering and Contracting, SAOG. He is the President of Oman Chapter of Indo-Gulf and Middle East Chamber. Welcome to the program, Mr. Ali. And ladies and gentlemen, our last panelist is Ms. Mekila Pandey from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She is daughter of former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Basudev Pandeyji, political leader of the newest political party, the Patriotic Front, launched in 2019. She is former member of Parliament and she is an attorney at law. So Ms. Mekila Pandey, welcome to the program. And as I was sharing with you, our moderator is Shri Bini Bansal, co-founder of Flipkart. So Shri Bini Bansal, it's over to you. Please.
Thank you. I would like the chair to probably start the session, say a few words. Mansurji.
वर्ल्ड यंग लीडर सेशन में डाइस पर उपस्थित सभी प्रवासी भारतीय यंग लीडर्स, उपस्थित सभी युवा दोस्तों, भाइयों बहनों, आज मुझे खुशी है कि इस प्रवासी भारतीय दिवस की थीम रखी गई है प्रवासी यंग लीडर्स विकसित भारत में अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन कैसे दे सकते हैं। दोस्तों, मैं आपके सामने शॉर्ट में 3 विषय रखूंगा। इंडिया की यूथ के लिए सिचुएशंस क्या है। इंडिया इज ए बिग कंट्री, ह्यूज डाइवर्सिटी, 1.4 बिलियन पॉपुलेशंस, उसमें से कुल मिला के 20 में से 13 देश के सिटीजन यूथ है, बिलो 35 है। दुनिया का सबसे यंग कंट्री इंडिया है, जिसकी एवरेज एज 29 इयर्स है। इंडिया के यूथ को मोबिलाइज करने के लिए लास्ट 10 इयर्स से गवर्नमेंट ने नंबर ऑफ टाइप ऑफ इनिशिएटिव लिया है। उसका 2 फायदा हुआ है। एक हुआ है इंडियन यूथ को अपनी चॉइस की इंडिया में ही अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले, उसके लिए इंडिया की इकोनॉमी पोस्ट कोविड 8% से ग्रो कर रही है। यूरोप बिलो 3, अमेरिका बिलो 2, सारी चाइना बिलो 5। ऐसी स्थिति में इंडिया में 8% से इकोनॉमी ग्रो कर रही है। इट्स मीनिंग इज इंडिया का एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर ग्रो कर रहा है, सर्विस सेक्टर ग्रो कर रहा है, एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर ग्रो कर रहा है, और इमर्जिंग सेक्टर फॉर एग्जांपल इन आईटी, एआई जैसे सेक्टर ग्रो कर रहा है। उसमें इंडियन यूथ को अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले, उसके लिए हमने नंबर ऑफ टाइप ऑफ एफर्ट लिए हैं। स्टार्टअप इंडिया, कोई यूथ को स्टार्ट करना है, सरकार उसके साथ है। कोई इंडस्ट्रीज लगाना है, सरकार उसके साथ है। रिसर्च इनोवेशन के लिए देश की सभी गवर्नमेंट की रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट को युवा के लिए ओपन कर दिया। एकेडेमिया और इंडस्ट्रीज को लिंक करी है, ताकि एजुकेशन ऐसा दिया जाए जैसे न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के तहत यूथ में स्किल एनहांसमेंट हो और देश में अपॉर्चुनिटी एनकेस हो। हमने नॉट ओनली फॉर इंडिया को देखा है, बट एंटायर वर्ल्ड विच इज अपॉर्चुनिटी टू इंडियन यूथ कौन सी है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आईटी में इन द पास्ट गवर्नमेंट माई सेल्फ वॉज हेल्थ मिनिस्टर, एंड लास्ट 10 years माई सेल्फ इज इन यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया। मेरा 10 साल का अनुभव है दोस्तों। मैं 53 कंट्री गया हूं। मैंने देखा है, मैं 3-4 टाइम वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम में इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट करा है। मैंने देखा है, आप जिस देश के प्रवासी भारतीय हैं दोस्तों, ये देश की कई विशेषताएं हैं। यहाँ की ट्रेडिशन, यहाँ का कल्चर, यहाँ की परंपरा ऐसी है जो इंडियन दुनिया में कहा भी जाता है लोगों को अच्छा लगता है, उसके साथ मिल जाता है और एक चॉइस बन जाता है। दुनिया में डॉक्टर्स 1 मिलियन से अबव डॉक्टर्स दुनिया में सर्विस दे रहा है और दुनिया इंडिया के यंग डॉक्टर्स को मांगती है। नर्स, दुनिया कहती है कि हमें इंडियन नर्स चाहिए। अभी मैं जापान गया था एज ए हेल्थ मिनिस्टर। जापान की गवर्नमेंट ने कहा कि मुझे इंडियन नर्स चाहिए 5,000 इमीडिएट, और वो भी नॉर्थ ईस्ट की होनी चाहिए। और उन्होंने कहा कि हमें जापानीज लैंग्वेज जाने तो अच्छा है। तो मैंने नॉर्थ ईस्ट की नर्सिंग कॉलेज में जापानीज लैंग्वेज को सिखाना चालू करा। मेरे अरुणाचल के मेघालय के ऑनरेबल चीफ मिनिस्टर 60 नर्स की एक बैच लेके जापान गया, उसको वहां अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली। आज आईटी सेक्टर में दुनिया की कोई रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट में जाके देखो, 10 में से 3 रिसर्च फेलो इंडियन है। और दोस्तों, ड्यूरिंग कोविड क्राइसिस माई सेल्फ एज ए हेल्थ मिनिस्टर, मुझे पता है कई दुनिया की मल्टीनेशनल कंपनी के साथ मेरी बात होती थी, उसके सीईओ का परिचय होता था, वो इंडियन थे। जब मैं दुनिया के साथ बात करता था तो इंडिया आईटी सेक्टर में, आज आप जाओ बेंगलुरु में, दुनिया आउटसोर्स से आईटी सेक्टर में काम उससे करवाते हैं। एआई में इंडियन यूथ अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन कर रहा है। ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन जैसे इमर्जिंग सस्टेनेबिलिटी सेक्टर में इंडियन यूथ अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दे रहा है। हम देश के युवाओं को दिशा भी दे रहे हैं, उसको अपॉर्चुनिटी भी दे रहे हैं, लीडरशिप उसमें कैसे डेवलप हो उसके लिए भी प्रयास हो रहा है। और इसलिए मैंने देखा, पिछले 5 साल से मैं एक न्यू ट्रेंड देख रहा हूं। जब मैं कॉलेज में पढ़ता था तो हम विदेश जाने की सोच रखते थे कि हमें विदेश जाना है ताकि हमें अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले। ये 10 साल में ट्रेंड बदला है और मेरी एज के यूथ दुनिया में जाके पढ़े लिखे वो कहते हैं कि मुझे इंडिया में आना है, मुझे इंडिया में इंडस्ट्रीज लगाना है, मुझे इंडिया में रिसर्च करना है। बिकॉज ऑफ इंडिया में ह्यूज अपॉर्चुनिटी है। यहां मिडिल क्लास बढ़ रहा है, परचेज पावर बढ़ रहा है, 1.4 बिलियन पॉपुलेशन है, विश्व का सबसे बड़ा मार्केट इंडिया है। इसलिए दुनिया के लिए इंडिया मस्ट है। और इंडिया के पास ब्रेन पावर भी है, इंडिया के पास मैन पावर भी है। इसलिए जब दुनिया इंडिया से बात करती है, वर्तमान समय में इंडिया उसके लिए प्रायोरिटी बन गया है। डेवलप्ड कंट्री को हमारे ट्रेन मैन पावर की रिक्वायरमेंट है और मार्केट की रिक्वायरमेंट है। साउथ ग्लोब को इंडिया उसके साथ खड़ा रहता है। जब दुनिया क्राइसिस में होती है, दिक्कत में होती है, जब दुनिया कोविड क्राइसिस में थी, दुनिया के लिए हेल्थ कॉमर्स हो सकता है, लेकिन इंडिया के लिए हेल्थ एक सेवा थी। इसलिए 150 कंट्री में इंडिया ने मेडिसिन सप्लाई करी। 100 अबव कंट्री में इंडिया ने मुफ्त वैक्सीन सप्लाई करी। और दोस्तों, उस वक्त हम चाहते तो दुनिया के पास मेडिसिन नहीं थी। माई सेल्फ वाज फार्मास्यूटिकल मिनिस्टर ऑल्सो एट दैट टाइम। दुनिया के पास मेडिसिन नहीं थी, हम चाहते तो इसकी प्राइस हाइक कर सकते थे, लेकिन ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने कहा कि वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, दुनिया हमारा परिवार है और ये हमारी जिम्मेवारी है दुनिया को मदद करना। हाइड्रोक्सीक्लोरोक्विन, एजिथ्रोमाइसिन एंड ऑल टाइप ऑफ मेडिसिन प्राइस बिना हाइक करे दुनिया को हमने उपलब्ध कराई। दुनिया ने माना और साउथ ग्लोब ने माना कि इंडिया एक ऐसी कंट्री है जो हम क्राइसिस में होते हैं, खपत हम मुश्किल स्थिति में होते हैं तो हमारे साथ कोई खड़े रहने वाला है। और जो खड़े रहने वाले कोई कंट्री का नाम उसके ज्ञान में आता है, उसके मन में आता है, तो ये देश का नाम भारत है, आप और मेरा देश है। इस देश के युवा विकसित भारत के लिए हम सब लोग साथ में मिलके ये मेरा देश है। और दोस्तों, हम एक बार एक समय में, प्राचीन समय में, देखो 5000 ईयर्स एगो इंडस सिविलाइजेशन के समय में इट वाज अ डेवलप्ड कंट्री। फिर हमें डेवलप्ड होना है, हम क्या कर सकते हैं, इस विषय पर आप सबका साथ विचार विमर्श हो। आपका कंट्रीब्यूशन उसमें रहे। मेरा भी देश है, मेरे पुरखों का देश है, मेरे पिताजी, मेरे फादर, मेरे फोरफादर, या मेरा बर्थ इस देश की धरती पे हुआ। मैं प्रवासी भारतीय हूं। मैं मेरे देश के लिए, विकसित भारत बनाने के लिए, डेवलप्ड कंट्री बनाने के लिए अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या कर सकता हूं, ये कल्पना के साथ, एक सोच के साथ हम आदर्श डिस्कशन करके हमारी भागीदारी को साझा करें। आप सबको डिस्कशन के लिए आवकारी है। धन्यवाद।
Honorable Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandviya ji, dear panelists, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It is indeed my honor and privilege to moderate this session on Beyond Borders, Diaspora Youth Leadership in a Globalized World. Our chair, Dr. Mansukh Mandviya ji, has thoughtfully set the stage by highlighting India's priorities and achievements in engaging the diaspora, particularly the youth, who serve as vital connectors between India and the global community. Let us now dive deeper into today's discussion. This topic of Indian youth leadership and its transformative power is very close to my heart, given my own journey at Flipkart, which started when I was a 24-year-old young entrepreneur. And for the first 5 years at Flipkart, more than 95% of our employees were below 35 years of age, were youth. So it was a group of hundreds of Indian youth working together in trying to build a world-class product and technology e-commerce company out of India. And post-Flipkart, in the last 4 to 5 years, I spent majority of my time with young Indian entrepreneurs in helping them build their companies and grow them in India and also globally as well. So I'm really glad that the first panel of this Pravasi Bharatiya Divas is focused on youth leadership. In today's interconnected world, the Indian diaspora, especially its youth, has emerged as a dynamic force, driving innovation, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. With their unique dual identities, they are not only cultural ambassadors, but also thought leaders who can bridge nations and build partnerships. India's engagement with its diaspora youth reflects its commitment to fostering leadership, promoting cultural diplomacy, strengthening economic ties, and addressing pressing global challenges like sustainability and equity. And the diaspora youth, equipped with global exposure but rooted in Indian heritage, are uniquely placed to drive these objectives forward. In the economic space, the Indian youth diaspora youth contribute to remittances, cross-border investments, economic collaborations, and entrepreneurship. Many Indian youth in the diaspora have started great companies like Perplexity, Instacart, Nutanix. They've even turned around companies like American companies like Newsweek, like we just saw in the opening session. On the cultural side, they serve as cultural ambassadors through arts, festivals, and cuisine. Events like Diwali on Trafalgar Square highlight their cultural contributions. They also actively engage in social justice causes, mental health awareness, climate activism. They use technology and social media to amplify their voices. And now we are seeing increasing involvement in policy making and political positions. We have 2 politicians on this panel representing the same. So in this session, we will explore the remarkable contributions of the Indian diaspora youth from across the world in these areas through the stories of our 6 panelists. And we'll also examine the barriers they face, how India can support and empower them to achieve an even greater impact, and how we can link it all to Prime Minister Modi's vision of a Viksit Bharat. So I'm joined by 6 exceptional leaders who were already introduced, who come with very different backgrounds and very different countries. And I would like to break this session into 2 parts. In the first session, I would want each of the panelists to talk about their impact journey and their leadership journey, and take 4 to 5 minutes. We are short on time, only please. And in the second half of the session, I'd like to open it up in a conversation that we can have on Viksit Bharat and how they can contribute to the Viksit Bharat vision, what can the government do and other institutions do to enable them and enable the other youth in their countries, Indian diaspora youth in their countries, to forward this vision of Viksit Bharat. Thank you. Maybe we start with Mr. Prabhakaran.
Thank you, Mr. Vinny, the moderator, and thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, for giving us this opportunity to come in as a panelist and speak to the diaspora. And I agree, and feel free to stop me anywhere and add points, my dear panelists, like how we discussed yesterday. And my name is Prabhakaran. I'm a member of Parliament from Malaysia. This is my 2nd term as a member of Parliament. And this opportunity for me to share about how I encourage the youth in my country, especially the Malaysian, and specifically the Indians in Malaysia, is where the opportunity must be given to the youth, upcoming youth. I feel it's something special about Malaysia because when I was 22 years old, I became a member of Parliament. That is a record in my country, but I didn't do research for the global age group. But now I'm 28. I was recently appointed as a chairman of a particular agency which takes care of the underprivileged Indians in Malaysia, which we made many transformational changes, policy changes to the underprivileged Indian communities in Malaysia. And for the youth especially, when being a leader, it's not only about how you lead, it's also how you engage to show yourself that you are also a normal person in the community. And me being the 4th generation in Malaysia, my ancestors were brought from Tamil Nadu to fix railway tracks, and my grandparents, both of my grandparents, were working under railway as engineers, and how I and my father escaped that route and my father does business, real estate, and unfortunately I end up in politics. Anyways, that was a joke. Anyways, it's very interesting, and the recent visit with Anwar Ibrahim, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, to engage the Prime Minister Modi has opened up many opportunities, especially for Malaysia and India relationship. And me hearing the Excellency's speech just now, how they put youth as the frontliners for the vision of 2047, Viksit Bharat, is really admirable. And I hope in 2047, you still see me as a youth, although I'll be crossing my 50. But I wish all the best for the youth, diaspora, and the India government to make sure the vision and the mission to achieve Viksit Bharat will be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prabhakaran. Next, we move on to Ishani Chandelier. Ishani.
Thank you, Vinny. Before I share a little bit about myself, I think I have to extend my warm regards and gratefulness to the Consul General of India in Hong Kong, Ms. Tapan Khanalia ji, and the Ministry of External Affairs, the State Government of Odisha, Mansukh Mandavia ji, and the fellow panelists here. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to be a part of this panel. Hi everybody, my name is Ishani, and I'm a very proud Indian Assamese who lives in Hong Kong. I am a technologist by profession, but an art lover. I love traveling, history travel, and sharing my yoga experience with people in Hong Kong. A part of my mission through yoga is to make yoga accessible to the underprivileged sections of the society. For example, the ethnic minorities in Hong Kong, making it a part of their life and giving that strength, empowering them through yoga is one of my missions. And through this mission, I traveled to a couple of countries to learn more about, do my workshops, but also share and learn more about the history and the impact that India had on Southeast Asia. Bujang Valley, which is located in Malaysia, is one of the first civilizations of Southeast Asia, if you know. And that itself shares so much connections that India has with Southeast Asia and so much to explore. So that's something that I do on whenever I have capacity to travel. And that's a little bit about me, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishani. Next we hear from Mr. Don McLean Gill from Philippines.
Thank you very much, sir. And of course, I'd like to extend my greatest and best wishes to the Honorable Minister of Youth to having this great opportunity to be here. The Government of India, of course, for giving me the opportunity to be amongst you all in my beloved motherland, my beloved Bharat. Being a Filipino of Indian origin, I found it to be a necessary passion, a necessary objective to interlink both nations in their respective capacities. So just to provide a little context as to what I do and the areas in which I work in towards the major theme of this discussion, I wear a couple of hats in the Philippines. First and foremost, as a university lecturer, I specialize in Philippine foreign policy and Indian foreign policy in Southeast Asia. Now, what I have to first of all say is that through the proactive policy and foreign policy and leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and the Modi government for spearheading a vision of India towards the world, Vasudev Kutumbakam, for instance, and of course that proactive drive to be the voice of the global South. This has led to a lot and a significant percentage of appetite across the world towards engaging deeper with India. Now, being a proud member of the Indian diaspora, being of Indian origin, first and foremost, the work that I do centers on bringing India towards the youth in the Philippines. Being in the field of international relations and being in the area such as the Philippines, we clearly see that there has been a polarization of understanding of which countries the Philippines aligns with, the youth, the pop culture of Filipinos, young Filipinos, understanding their perspective towards Western culture, East Asian culture. That has been the traditional norm. But I'm very happy to say that today, the youth in the Philippines have become largely inclined and more enthusiastic towards appreciating and understanding India more. This is in fact very significant. Being born and raised in the Philippines and seeing that momentum grow firsthand is something that I continue to consider as a major blessing. Now, when I initially started my venture in the academe, students across the country were very much limited in their understanding of a rising great power, and that is India. Very limited understanding. But along with the advancements that are taking place here within in India, the Philippines and the Filipinos have become more inclined to look at India as a model of growth, as a model for transition and a model for progress. And in this regard, being able to introduce India to the Philippines through the academe is somewhat of a major blessing that I consider to be myself highly privileged to have the opportunity of doing. Now, in the area of maritime security and security cooperation as a whole, if you look into the academe and the policy centers, today there is much enthusiasm again in looking at India as a reliable and trusted partner. And I would like to happily state and inform you all that universities across the country are becoming more and more interested in increasing their outputs in research about India. And that in itself is a major development that I have seen in the past few decades alone. The bilateral relationship through the Act East policy has grown considerably since 2016. I come from the era of defense and security, and we could definitely see that the Philippines looks at India as a trusted partner, a privilege and a position that was not there 2 or 3 decades ago. And in this point in time, I am also honored to have had the opportunity and to have the opportunity to engage with the defense and foreign policy establishment of the Philippines. Our current government under President Marcos Jr. has been highly collaborative with academics and scholars such as myself. And a recurring issue is how can the Philippines work more with India? And in terms of tourism, for instance, the politicians and the policymakers of the Philippines recognize that India is in fact a country. Indians are a necessity, a necessary partner for Filipinos to work with. You talk about the cuisine, you talk about understanding of values. This has been highly convergent. But what was needed was a spark. Something to light everything up and to channelize that momentum. And this is what we are seeing today. So from my personal perspective, I am happy to report to every one of you all that in the Philippines, the appetite for having a more robust partnership with India at the government level and at the people-to-people level is at an all-time high. And that in itself is something that I consider to be a major development. And through my little contributions in my field, I can clearly see that the change is evolving towards the betterment of an understanding of a rising India, an India that is a visionary voice of the Global South. And to that, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. We'll now hear from Ms. Revati Pillai, who's come all the way from South Africa.
Thank you. Namaste to the Honorable Minister, dignitaries, guests. Namaskar to the people of Odisha, Jai Jagannath. And Sani Bona to my people of South Africa watching back home. My name is Revati Pillai, and I'm an IT business analyst by profession. I'm also a radio personality and a youth ambassador in my country, and of recent, the CEO and founder of the non-profit organization called Care for Africa. Before I go on, I must say a big thank you to the Consulate General of India in South Africa and the government of India for giving me this opportunity. In South Africa, we have around 1.6 million Indians living in South Africa, and to be chosen to sit here today is an absolute honor, and I thank you for that. So a little bit about myself. Many years ago, I was just doing my 9-to-5 job, and I wanted to do more. And as you know, Gandhiji lived in South Africa for 21 years, making a difference to the lives of Indians in South Africa. So if he could do something as great as that, and work with his colleagues to give us South African Indians a chance to have the freedom, and also being very inspired by the Honorable Prime Minister of India's story, his journey to where he is today, I myself wanted to make a difference. So I sat, after reading a very religious scripture, I decided that I'm going to do something for the youth of South Africa, specifically for the Indian kids and youngsters, youth of South Africa. So I started with a radio show where I was talking to a few hundred kids. I then started to move forward to various other communities where I started talking to a few thousands of kids of Indian, diaspora. And I wanted to continue my journey. Therefore, I opened and founded the non-profit organization called Care for Africa, because today I'm able to help youth in South Africa as a whole, and in time to come, we will look at the continent Africa. So my dream is to ensure that the youth out there in my country are able to make a difference, because I believe every single youngster out there has the potential to make a difference, to be their best version. And we take a lot of inspiration from the youth of India, because we admire their field in technology and everything that they are striving for. So I want the youngsters in South Africa to make a mark, just like how the Indians here, the youth, are making their mark. And that is my vision, that is my goal, and that is my dream, to ensure that the youth in South Africa are driven with motivation, are encouraged to be their best version, and I will continue to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Revati. We now move on to Mr. Muhyiddin Muhammad Ali from Oman.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Honorable Minister for his wonderful words, and also share that it's a real privilege and honor to be in front of all of you with my fellow panelists as well. I would like to share a little bit about myself. I'm a second-generation entrepreneur from Oman. And I can't tell my story without telling the story of my father. My father left India 55 years ago in search of a better economic opportunity, to find prosperity. And that journey took him to Mizoram, a few hundred kilometers away, and it took him to the shores of the Gulf in Oman. And over those 55 years, through hard work and determination and the blessings of the Almighty, we have been blessed to be part of the nation-building process in infrastructure, in education, in hospitality. And today, we have come full circle where we see India is the largest opportunity in front of us. And we have the capacity and the capability to really go after that opportunity. Now, we are privileged to have that basic needs met from nutrition and education and health. So how do we make the most of all of that to do justice to that opportunity? What I see, as the Honorable Minister had shared as well, the brain power is here, the manpower is here, and capital will follow where capability meets opportunity. I'll repeat that again. Capital will follow where capability meets opportunity. And there is an abundance of capability and opportunity over here. When the opportunity is big enough, there's some magic that can happen. There's innovation that can happen. We've seen it with our moderator, Binny, as well. He's done that in the IT space. And what I'm excited about is what is the kind of innovation that can happen in infrastructure, in construction, in education, in hospitality. So I'm excited and really happy to be a part of the future of making Viksit Bharat a reality. I'd also like to share from Oman, our proximity to India meant that we were always connected to our homeland, culturally, by language, by people, by the food, even our clothing. In Oman, we wear the musar, and the best musar comes from Kashmir. And under our dashdasha, we wear a wizar. Where does that come from? That comes from South India, from Kerala, from my hometown. So even the geography of India is mapped in our clothing. So it's a natural and beautiful and exciting relationship that I hope to continue to build. This has been a relationship that has spanned centuries, and we've talked about trade. And we always hear about the historical connections. And in the 70s, there was more of a cost arbitrage or access to manpower and people and labor. But that's changing. And today, the opportunity is in India, and that's what I'm really excited about and looking forward to discussing with my fellow panelists as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. We saved the best for last. We'll now hear from Michaela Pandey. She comes all the way from Trinidad and Tobago.
Namaste. Thank you, moderator, Honorable Minister. Good day, everybody. My name is Michaela Pandey, and I come from Trinidad and Tobago, all the other way. I think I've been flying since last week, Tuesday. But I got here safely, and I want to thank the Indian government for the opportunity to be here to discuss with these wonderful fellow panelists. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an attorney at law. I am also the political leader of a political party called the Patriotic Front. I follow in the steps of my father, the Honorable Basdeo Pandey, who was the former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, thank you. In fact, 20 years ago, he was here at this conference, and he was receiving the Summer Award. Sadly, he passed last year, so it is both happy and emotional to be here, but I'm very, very proud to have been given the opportunity. When my father became the first Indian Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a cosmopolitan country. What had happened was Indian people felt empowered, and not in a negative way, but in a positive way, to be proud of their food, of their culture, of their religion. They didn't feel the need to hide it. We were able to get Indian radio stations so that we can listen to Indian music. Not at the detriment of any other race, but it brought a sense of equality and non-discrimination that we had been facing as Indians in the past. So, as his daughter, I don't think that you can inherit legacy. I think what you can do is carry it on. And therefore, it is my duty as a political leader and as a lawyer to do my best to carry on his legacy while building my own, forging relationships with the government of India, of course, and to do the best I can for my country and all of its people. My duty, my aim, my vision is very much like my father's, which is really to unite our country, and everybody is invited to come. We're only 1.4 million people. We can accommodate you. You're all welcome to come. Right now, the Indo-Trinidadian population is in the majority, perhaps about 53%. But we live in harmony. We have Indian people of different religions. We have Muslims, Christians, Hindus, but we all live in harmony. It's a beautiful place, and I look forward to having discussions with my fellow panelists and learning from them as well. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Michaela. Now let's make this interesting. We have the Honorable Minister of Youth Affairs here. We have, I think, a big delegation from the External Ministry also in the audience. And I think now I'd like to open up this discussion with you guys and have you talk about how, what support do you guys need from the government? How can the government help in this align your vision and your work with this vision of Viksit Bharat that has been set forward by Prime Minister Modi. So maybe I'll start with Mr. Ali. So you've been doing business already in India, and when we were talking earlier, you were saying that India looks to be the biggest market opportunity for you going forward, and you're also involved in a lot of initiatives of increasing collaboration between businesses between Oman and India. So tell us a little more about all of that and how you see some of your work contributing to Viksit Bharat, and also how can we enable more people in your part of the world to do the same.
Thank you, Benny. I'll try to answer that by sharing the larger trends of people movement between the two regions. So, as I mentioned earlier, from the 70s when the Gulf was developing with the discovery of oil and the need to really start the nation-building process with infrastructure and healthcare and all of that, there was a lot of people that were coming from India, and especially from the south of India as well, to partner in that building process. So it was the proximity, the cost of labor, of manpower, of brain power, the experience as well, and also the fact at the time economically India was not as conducive to business at the time. So people were looking for better opportunities. Now, in the last 5 decades, each of those nations have developed a fair amount of their infrastructure, and we see there's also a movement back of people back to India, where there's a need for creating employment in their own nations as well. I see this as an opportunity. They have the most important part in building the Viksit Bharat is first building the capability. And that capacity has been built with the experience from all across the diaspora, all across where you have the latest technology and infrastructure being built. That all that know-how and brain power is coming back to apply to the opportunities over here. At the larger scale, that is what it is. But I think technology has been the biggest democratizer of knowledge. Today, you don't need to go to a college or go to an institute to pick up skills. You have it. You have it at the palm of your hand. You can. The key is to know what skill you want to learn. What is it that you want to learn? So once that clarity is there, this is a message to the youth. Know what you are looking for first. Once you know that, you will be guided. The knowledge is out there. Your journey for learning is easier than it was a few decades ago. So the opportunities are there. The knowledge is available. Have that discipline, the courage, and keep that collaborative and open mindset that there will be people to help you along the way, and that opportunities are there for you, waiting for you. Maybe if you take too long, it might not be there because someone else is in a bit of a hurry. So have that sense of urgency, have that discipline, and seek that journey of learning, lifelong learning.
I think I will add on to panelists. It's very interesting when it comes to Viksit Bharat, because like how in Malaysia we had a vision 2020. We were almost there, but unfortunately 2020 was also during the COVID, and we had a great impact, not only we, the whole world. And it's quite a struggle after the COVID pandemic, and now we are getting there. But looking at the vision of 2047 Viksit Bharat, it's really good how they really empower the youth community, especially. By empowering the youth in all sectors and scope, they're indirectly building the nation. The nation building process begins from there. And when we had a visit last year, many months back, with the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, we sat down with the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji. We discussed many exchange opportunities, and there were many opportunities, but one of it really made me really excited was the education part. Because the exchange of education, thanks to the Indian government, they've given us many scholarships for the Malaysian students to come here and study. With that kind of exchange policies, we really can have proper ideas, exchange of policies, technologies, digital platforms, and we create these opportunities so that the young people out there can use this, grab this opportunity, and to change this into nation building policies. I feel that way is much more better than we calling the young people out there to come and join us. Because I still remember during my campaign, I always say that the young people are not the leaders of the future, but they are the leaders of the day, today. And by creating the leaders of today, it should be sustainable enough so that the leaders of today can be the leaders of the future. And India, being young nation with the age of, average age 29, I'm also 29. And I'm really, really happy that India have chosen this path. And we as a Malaysian, the government of Malaysia, will definitely encourage our country as well by looking at the Visit Bharat policies. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can bring in Michaela on this topic as well. Given you play a similar role in your country, how do you see the collaboration opportunities between Trinidad and Tobago and India?
Traditionally, what has happened is when you're on the other side of the world, you almost look at as if it is too far. But of course, with technology, nothing is too far. Won't you agree with me, sisters? Nothing is too far. So absolutely, I think Trinidad is a growing and developing country. Our vision for our country is to achieve its fullest potential. And to do that, we cannot operate in isolation. And therefore, collaboration within the diaspora and of course with India would be very, very beneficial. And the beautiful thing about it is that to go back to my father, before he got into politics, he actually got a scholarship to come to India and didn't take up the scholarship and got involved in politics. I think one of the ways that we could definitely, again, coming back into politics, is that we must be able to engage with each other and have exchange programs. Even though we are quite far away, we have so much in common. And one of the things I was thinking about, it would be so good to have a political diaspora, political leadership academy. That's just, sort of idea where, offer training to diaspora youth to enter into politics. By the host country can do something like that. So yes, in many ways possible, Excellency.
Thank you. Revati, what's your thoughts on this topic?
Now, I have lots to think about here, but I think just to take you a step back, many of my fellow panelists will know that I'm the 6th generation in South Africa. So the reason why I'm saying this is, okay, so in 1860, as you know, Indians left India and they came to South Africa. And they came in as slaves, they worked on the sugarcane fields, and they worked for the British there and as slaves. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because on that very land that our forefathers, my forefathers that hailed from Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu, who worked very hard on that sugarcane fields, Care for Africa, as the founder and CEO, I would like to actually create a skills development center on that very same soil that my forefathers worked very hard, put their blood, sweat, and tears on, is because one of the things that our forefathers, when they came to South Africa, was they wanted an education for their children. They built schools in South Africa, in Natal. They built places of worship to make sure that the youth don't forget their culture, their religion. They made sure that their kids do not go through the same struggles that they went through. Now, like I said, with 21 years of Gandhiji being there, and it gives me pleasure because it's on the eve as tomorrow marks the 110th year that Gandhiji left South Africa to come to India after making a difference and giving us the freedom to be able to say I'm proudly South African Indian. Now, it's saying that, and the reason why I gave you that background was because I would like to ask the government of India for support. I would like to open that center in an area called Mount Edgecombe, which is in the north of Natal, and that is exactly where our forefathers were working. I would like to open a center, and my vision for that center is to have a robotics section, is to have an IT AI section, to have career development, to have mentorship, and many other areas, because there are many young kids out there in South Africa of Indian diaspora that parents cannot afford for education. Unfortunately, degrees are not affordable for every youngster in my country. So the purpose is for every youngster to attend that center and leave with some sort of certification, some sort of skill. So when they leave to go into the outside world, they'll be able to get a place of employment. Because right now, the youth unemployment rate is slightly high in South Africa. So to be able to help them, my request to the Indian government is the fact that India, when you talk about India, when you talk about their AI, their technology, you actually, I am very proud to say they are the leaders. And so I'm asking for help with the robotics section, with the AI, for mentoring as well. And coming from a radio background, something that I actually thought about now, but I will definitely speak about it, is that center will also have a room for online radio. We'll call it the Care channel. And globally, youth will be able to communicate via that radio channel and talk about different things that youngsters who don't really have much knowledge on can learn from. Learn from experts when they talk about, like the panelists that I have here that are quite, experts in their field. If we can just share that knowledge, because I personally believe, and we always talk about this saying in South Africa, is don't catch the fish for the person. Teach the person how to catch the fish. Don't, give the person, or don't give the youth. As long as you continue to give the youth resources, they'll never learn how to fend for themselves. So I want to give them a skill so they are able to fend for themselves. So that is my request, is to be able to get support from the government of India to create that center for 2025, as that is our vision back home.
Thanks, Revati. You can definitely count my support in for your center. Ishani, let's move on to you. So, from your perspective as a technologist and a social entrepreneur, how can India better engage with and support diaspora youth who are driving social change like you are in diverse fields? Are there any specific initiatives such as cross-cultural exchange programs or funding opportunities that would be particularly impactful?
Thanks, Vinny. I think there are a lot of opportunities here, but one thing that I would like to first start off with is to just, for everybody on an individual level, to reflect back on one's perspective and identity and have confidence in the identity that they have. And that gives you the confidence to face the world, whatever challenges it is. So once I looked through my history and when I got the confidence to share about my history, there are a lot of initiatives and there are a lot of opportunities, I think, especially in Hong Kong with the Consulate General, to share the different cultures. And one example for this is last year, we celebrated for the first time Borgit and Hotria recital in Hong Kong, which happened for the first time. And these are traditional Assamese dance and music. And with that, throughout that whole program, we also curated booklets like this, which kind of was shared with the audience about the dance forms and about the music and stuff like that. And this was with the support of the Consulate General. So when we have ideas, giving people the support to build on the ideas, I think is a key to really pushing for a Viksit Bharat.
Yeah, Revati, you want to come in?
Yes, sorry. I think in addition to that, I've forgotten to mention that, you know, when you go and stay in another country that's quite westernized, it's very difficult to keep your culture intact. It's very difficult to pass on the traditions of culture, religion, and where you come from. Hence, the youth of South Africa, of Indian diaspora, really do struggle at times to keep that culture alive, whether learning the language, learning why we do certain traditions, whether it's a wedding, whether it's the last rites of their loved ones. So the other request is, how do we work together with South Africa and India where we are able to keep that culture alive? And that is my other request. You know, we need to ensure that in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, the Indians in South Africa are aware of why do they perform a certain prayer, why do they do certain things and the right things when they perform a marriage, for that matter. They need to continue to keep their culture alive. So that's my other request, is how to make sure it does not get diluted any further. Thank you.
Don, you want to add?
But just one thing, moderator. Diluting isn't always, I don't think it's diluting. I think you can add to it to make it something bigger.
I agree.
And sort of better, because in Trinidad and Tobago, I'll tell you something, we have something called doubles. We invented that. And it's two bara and chana inside. We have chicken roti. Guyanese people say chicken roti, curry chicken, curry chicken, and they change up the words. But that's like our national dish. But because we are so cosmopolitan, and we have people of African descent, we've got Chinese people there, Syrian people there, we've been able in Trinidad and Tobago to almost make it a mixing pot and create our own thing. And it's been very beneficial because it's made people feel very patriotic, not only about their country, but still have a link to the whole country.
No, definitely. I think it gives you, I think what you're saying is definitely right, because it allows South African Indians, for example, to have that flavor and that trademark. But what I'm talking about is there are many youth out there in South Africa that need to understand the purpose of the Mangal Sutra. They need to understand about their prayer. They need to understand why it's important for Kanyadan. They need to understand the importance of why it's so important for their son, to have a son to do their last rites. Culture in that aspect should never be diluted. Hence, I say that we definitely need support.
And I say one thing, sorry for interrupting, because I see my friend Don there. When my father passed away last year, almost a week to the date, I did his rites. And proudly so as a woman as well. So, I think it's important to always strike a sort of balance, and so that, because patriotism is also very important.
Yeah, you have to strike the right balance. Well said, Nicola. Don?
Thank you, thank you. This is a very rich discussion, and I'd just like to add on quickly about it. When we talk about the Indian diaspora in the Philippines, now we have to understand that we are an archipelago in Southeast Asia. And compared to other foreign communities in the country, the Indian diaspora is not as large, relatively speaking. It's over 20,000. But despite that, the Indian community in the Philippines has been front and center in taking part in humanitarian assistance in the country throughout history. Now, this is an important thing that we must take note of. No community comes close to the nature in which the Indian community, during times of crisis in the Philippines. Now, we are a disaster-prone area. Typhoons especially is a major concern in the Philippines. And more recently, the COVID-19 pandemic. And you look into whatever the natural disaster that occurs within the country, first and foremost, the Indian community connect and get themselves together to help in every capacity that they can. And that has left a very positive mark for the Filipino people towards the Indian community. And I think that at this point in time, when diaspora politics in the field of international politics considers to be an element of weaponization, I can proudly say that the Indian diaspora continues to be the most favorable diaspora across the world. And I could say that with great pride and great confidence. Honestly speaking, even within Southeast Asia, as a Filipino of Indian origin, I could see that based on the statistics, based on public opinion. Now, on top of that, what we also need to understand here is that the perception towards Indians in the Philippines is also very positive, to the point that now under the current legislation, as I have mentioned earlier, I also take part actively in the foreign policy and defense planning in consultations in the country. And one of the major issues here, one of the major potential here is the Philippines wants to leverage Indians and to enhance people-to-people ties. So how do we do that? Well, the Philippines is now opening up visa on arrival, e-visas. They're trying to explore that. Initially speaking, and the initial target was China, because China has a huge population, etc. But then the majority of policymakers said recently, hold on. Why aren't we looking at India? First of all, India is our friend. India has no axe to grind in the region, and third, India is a much-needed stabilizer in the region. So I'm very happy to also inform you that policymakers are also looking towards people-to-people connections. And the awareness of the youth, particularly, towards India's growth is phenomenal. Last year, we had the 10th anniversary of the Act East policy under Prime Minister Modi ji. Now, we have to, and I'm happy to let you all know that this is the first time that I have given so many lectures towards so many universities in the country, informing them about the significance of the Act East. But it was not just me saying that I want to talk about it. This was coming from Philippine universities telling that we want to know more about Act East. So that in itself is a huge development. Now, where can the government work together with the Philippines? That goes to the last point that I'd like to make. The answer is connectivity. Now, we have a vast number of Indians, tourists especially, going back and forth India to Philippines. And, throughout the past few years, I was telling our Indian ambassador to the Philippines, Ambassador Jenji, and previously Ambassador Shambhu Kumaranji, who is now in Austria. And I've also been telling this to, the Philippine ambassador to India, Ambassador Ignacio. All wonderful people, all wonderful representatives. And I was saying that whenever I take flights, last year I was in India for at least 6 times for academic and engagements. And I see that the number of Filipinos going along with me to plane rides towards India have been increasing as well. So there is that awareness, there is that momentum, there is that interest. And in my conversation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the idea here was we hope to have a connecting flight, a direct connecting flight between Manila and Delhi. And I do hope that with the joint effort of the Philippine government and the Indian government, that this plan would eventually materialize this year. And I think that this is a major step to enhancing that momentum that is already present here today. And I'm very happy to let you all know this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Before I bring this panel to an end, I'd like to give the panelists one more opportunity if somebody has anything to add. Ali?
So Oman and India had recently been working on a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, a CEPA. And we look at that very optimistically and positively. And furthermore, there's the Indo-Gulf European Economic Corridor, I believe. I may have gotten the words wrong, but these are all excellent initiatives at the highest levels of government. What I would like to see more, and what I hope to do in my role as the president of the Oman chapter of NMAC, is to build the connectivity, people-to-people connectivity, technology to markets, and capital to ideas at the lower level, maybe the ones that don't make the headlines, at the small and medium enterprises. If there's a technology that's being developed over here that has a market in the Gulf, I would love for a platform to create that platform for them to access that opportunity. So my request from the government is just helping not just at the higher levels, but at the SME and the lower levels as well. Yeah, thank you.
I would like to...
One of the things that's very important, especially for a country like ours in Trinidad and Tobago, is being able to feed itself. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have oil and gas, and we don't know how much left, but we've not diversified our economy, and that has worked towards our detriment. We haven't done it, whether it is in tourism, medical tourism, sports tourism, manufacturing, anything like that. But for us, I believe a country must be able to feed itself. We see when other countries are going through war, how food prices can shoot up. And that is one of the biggest problems that we're having in Trinidad now. A lot of people are struggling to be able to eat. Yet we have extremely fertile land that if you throw any seeds, it grows in our country. So I would love to see some kind of collaboration with India in terms of agriculture and modernized agricultural practices, and almost for us to work together to break the stereotype that we have inherited, that if you're in agriculture, it comes from indentured laborship or slavery. Because it doesn't have to be like that. And I think we need to break that culture there, and also to get the expertise that we need. And then from being able to feed ourselves, we can move on to feeding the Caribbean and exporting. And it helps so many things trickle up and down for our economy. So that would definitely help us in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well said.
Thank you. I would also like to wish again, thank you to the government of India for giving me this opportunity. I'm very honored to be here. You see, being a diaspora in Malaysia, I'm the 4th generation, like I said just now. The majority of us in Malaysia are the Tamils from Tamil Nadu. And remembering the stories from my elders, where the Indians in Malaysia were started from the estates, the rubber tappers, the railway track, the engineers who were struggling to come up in life, although the laws and the constitution is being fair to everyone. But of course, we being the minority in Malaysia, we had quite a struggle. And how successful we are now, we cannot say we are very successful, but we are doing all our best as a diaspora. We are working together in the diversity of Malaysia, where there's multiracial, the Malays, the Chinese, the Sabahan, the Sarawakian, the Ibans and all. And being said, me being the first Indian MP in Kuala Lumpur set an example for the young Indian diasporas in Malaysia to be successful and come up in life, whether it is in politics or economy, education or more things. And of course, the relationship between Malaysia and India has improved tremendously with the recent visit. And we also decided to give visa-free to go to India, and India also has done the same thing. And the numbers of tourists to Malaysia has increased dramatically, which indirectly improves our economy. And I really appreciate the platform given today and sharing these things to the diaspora. And I already had many invitations to go to Africa, and one of it was another country. And I can't wait to go and visit the other country diaspora and share my thoughts and exchange policies with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like now for the Honorable Minister to share some concluding remarks. So you heard all the panelists and heard their leadership stories and what they feel about Viksit Bharat.
डेढ़ घंटे के हमारे पैनल डिस्कशन में मैं मेरे पैनलिस्ट को अभिनंदन देना चाहूंगा। बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन करा। हम कैसे हमारे कोलैबोरेशन बढ़ा सकते हैं वाया यूथ कंट्री टू कंट्री, एंड उसमें युवाओं की क्या भूमिका हो सकती है, कौन से सेक्टर हमारे लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी है, उसमें से खास करके सभी ने कॉमन विषय कहा है, टूरिज्म अपॉर्चुनिटी, कल्चरल, टेक्नोलॉजी एक्सचेंज, स्किल एक्सचेंज, इनोवेशन आइडियाज एक्सचेंज, एग्रीकल्चर knowledge exchange. This type of opportunity helpful to us between collaboration between both country to country and youth also. इस टाइप की अपॉर्चुनिटी हम एनकेज करके दुनिया में युवाओं की भागीदारी को कैसे सुनिश्चित करें और वर्तमान समय में युवाओं की क्या डिमांड है, युवा क्या चाहता है और उसको सही गाइडेंस मिले, सही दिशा मिले, मैं मानता हूं कि बहुत आवश्यक होता है। मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल शेयर करना चाहूंगा। कई बार हम गोल तो सेट करते हैं, हमने तय करा कि मैं 2047 में जब देश आजादी का शताब्दी वर्ष मनाता हो तो हमें डेवलप कंट्री बनना है। लेकिन एक गोल केवल तय करने से फायदा नहीं होगा, उसके लिए रोड मैप बनना चाहिए। तो रोड मैप हमें कैसे बनाना चाहिए? एक ग्लोबलाइजेशन का समय है, कंट्री टू कंट्री कनेक्ट है, यूथ टू यूथ कनेक्ट है। आज सोशल मीडिया, प्रिंट मीडिया, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया और एआई, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है। ये सबको देखते हुए हमें गोल तय करना चाहिए और एक गोल को अचीव करने का प्रयास करना चाहिए। और इसलिए मोदी जी ने, मैं आपको दो विषय का एक कंपैरिजन करना चाहता हूं। अभी मोदी जी ने 2047 में विकसित भारत डेवलप कंट्री का गोल रखा। बिफोर 25 years ago, ऑनरेबल राजीव गांधी वॉज ए प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया। उन्होंने उस वक्त 21st सेंचुरी की बात कही थी। इट्स वर्तमान समय में उसको एनालाइज करें तो इट्स वन टाइप ऑफ डेवलप्ड कंट्री। उन्होंने भी यही बात करी थी, लेकिन उन्होंने नारा दिया, बहुत भाषण भी दिया था, लेकिन हम उस दिशा में आगे नहीं बढ़ सके थे। क्यों? इसलिए नहीं आगे बढ़ सके थे कि केवल गोल तय करा। मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल के तौर पे समझाना चाहूंगा कि आप भुवनेश्वर आए हैं, आपको प्लेन से दिल्ली जाना है। प्लेन से दिल्ली जाना है तो पहले टिकट लेना पड़ेगा। टिकट लेने के बाद आपको टाइम पे एयरपोर्ट पर पहुंचना पड़ेगा, टाइम पर बोर्डिंग करना पड़ेगा और बाद में प्लेन उड़ेगा। अभी बोर्डिंग टाइम आप चूक गए और फिर एयरपोर्ट पर पहुंचे तो प्लेन तो चला जाएगा। 21st सेंचुरी तो आ गई, लेकिन हम एयरपोर्ट पर नहीं पहुंच पाए थे क्योंकि हमने पाथवे तय नहीं करा था। मोदी जी ने जब देश की आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव वर्ष 2023 में रेड फोर्ट से भाषण देते हुए कहा कि वी वांट टू डेवलप कंट्री, बट व्हाट इज अवर पाथवे। तो मोदी जी ने कहा कि हम 5 संकल्प करते हैं, 5 डिसीजन करते हैं, नॉट ओनली फॉर गवर्नमेंट, नॉट ओनली फॉर प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स डिसाइड, बट ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर इज अनाउंस दैट हम 5 संकल्प करके 1.4 बिलियन पॉपुलेशन एक साथ में आगे बढ़ेंगे। उन्होंने कहा, फर्स्ट बात कही कि हम डेवलप कंट्री बनाएंगे। दूसरी बात कही, डेवलप कंट्री बनना है, लेकिन हम सालों तक कभी इंडिया पर उन्होंने शासन करा, कभी शकों ने शासन करा, कभी आक्रांताओं ने शासन करा, 240 साल तक अंग्रेजों ने शासन करा। तो ये इतनी बड़ी 2000 साल की हमारी परतंत्रता है। कई गुलामी के प्रतीक है हमारे देश में। एक गुलामी के प्रतीक को हम भुलाएंगे और नया इतिहास बनाएंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, last 15 years myself a member of parliament, but we are sitting in parliament house built by English government. But now and today we are sitting of new parliament built by Indian engineer, Indian architecture and Indian labor. Our president is sitting in Rashtrapati Bhavan, and 26 जनवरी राजपथ पर परेड होती है, जिसमें देश की ताकत को दिखाई जाती है। उसको राजपथ कहते हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा कि इंडिया इज ए डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री। डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री में कोई राजा नहीं होता, तो राजपथ की आवश्यकता नहीं है। और प्रेसिडेंट सिटिंग एंड लेइंग इन राष्ट्रपति भवन मीन्स वहां वो अपनी ड्यूटी को अदा कर रहे हैं, अपना कर्तव्य का निर्वहन कर रहे हैं। दिस वे न्यू नेम्स इज कर्तव्य पथ। अभी वो राजपथ नहीं है, वो कर्तव्य पथ है। तो हम गुलामी के प्रतीकों को भुला देंगे। तीसरा संकल्प लेने के लिए मोदी जी ने कहा कि हम विरासत से प्रेरणा लेंगे। विरासत हमें दिशा भी देती है, हमें दर्शन भी देता है। क्यों यहाँ आए? Some young leaders say that my forefather, my 5th generation, my 4th generation अफ्रीका गए थे, फिलीपाइंस गए थे, सब लोगों ने बताया। लेकिन 4th, 5th सभी जनरेशन टू जनरेशन कहा कि आप ओरिजिन इंडियन है, आप ओरिजिन इंडियन है, आपके फोर फादर इंडिया में रहते थे, इसलिए इंडिया भी आपका देश है। उसके साथ भी आपका जुड़ाव होना चाहिए। तब जाके हमारी पांड्या जी बता रही थी कैसे वो ट्रैवल करके यहां आई, तो उसको किसने प्रेरणा दी? उसको इसने प्रेरणा दी कि ये मेरे फोर फादर के नेटिव है, हम इंडियन डायस्पोरा है, हमें इंडिया जाना है, उसको प्रेरणा मिली। हम विरासत से प्रेरणा लेके आगे बढ़ेंगे। ये देश में बहुत बड़ी विरासत है। आपको कभी यहां बैठे उसके लिए भी आपको भी कभी किसी को अवसर मिले तो एक बार गुजरात में इंडस सिविलाइजेशन का एक सारा नगर मिला है, टाउन मिला है, इट्स नेम इज धोलावीरा, इट्स ए हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन साइट। आप वहां जाके देखेंगे, देखो 5000 years ago we was civilized society। इस समय में वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग कैसे करा था आप देखें तो आपको आश्चर्य होगा। सिटी प्लानिंग, सारा नगर मिला हुआ है, सिटी प्लानिंग कैसा होता था। आज वहां के सिटी प्लानिंग देखो, ट्रामा वाटर देखो, आपको आश्चर्यचकित आप आश्चर्यचकित होंगे कि हम इतना सिविलाइज्ड थे इस जमाने में। और वहां टाउन है, धोलावीरा टाउन है, 5000 साल पुराना मिला हुआ है, एक्वेशन से मिला, उसके बाउंड्री पर एक फोर्ट है। वर्तमान समय में हम कहते हैं कि लाइमस्टोन को 600 सेंटीग्रेड हीट ट्रीटमेंट करके थोड़ी सी फायर शेड करे और उसको ग्राइंडिंग कर दे तो सीमेंट बन जाती है, और सीमेंट की आयुष्य 100 years होती है, वैसा हम कहते हैं। 5000 साल पहले एक फोर्ट की बाउंड्री पर मड से प्लास्टर करा है। नाउ इन टुडे इट्स प्रेजेंट सेम साइज। आज वैसा ही वैसा 5000 साल पहले मड से प्लास्टर करा हुआ आप देख पाओगे। हम इतना साइंस ये देश में था। मोदी जी ने कहा कि हम, हमारी विरासत, ये हमारी विरासत है, वैल्यूज, कल्चर, ट्रेडिशन हमारी विरासत है, उससे प्रेरणा लेके हम डेवलप्ड कंट्री बनेंगे। फोर्थ, मोदी जी ने कहा कि 101.4 बिलियन पॉपुलेशन एक संकल्प के साथ, एक थॉट के साथ, एक आइडियाज के साथ आगे बढ़ेंगे। जब 1% स्टेप टू 1 सिंगल स्टेप, वी गो फ्रंट ऑफ सिंगल स्टेप ओनली, बट 1.4 बिलियन पॉपुलेशन स्टेप ऑल टुगेदर स्टेप टू गेन। हम एक स्टेप 140 करोड़ की जनता एक साथ में आगे बढ़ेंगे तो देश एक साथ में 140 करोड़ स्टेप आगे बढ़ सकता है। इसलिए हम एक संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ेंगे और फिफ्थ, हम डेवलप कंट्री बनाएंगे। बट व्हाट इज आवर पाथवे? फिफ्थ पाथवे ही टोल्ड। उन्होंने कहा पांचवा हमारा संकल्प है देश के हर सिटीजन, 1.4 बिलियन पॉपुलेशंस नेशन के प्रति अपना कर्तव्य का निर्वहन करेंगे। फॉलो टू ड्यूटी फॉर नेशन। मैं मेरे देश के प्रति मेरी ड्यूटी, मेरा कर्तव्य मैं अदा करूंगा। जब हर व्यक्ति नेशन फर्स्ट की धारणा से आगे बढ़ता है तब जाके देश डेवलप्ड कंट्री बन सकता है। जब ड्यूरिंग कोविड क्राइसिस वी आर ऑल वाज इन आवर हाउस इन लॉकडाउन, अंडर ऑफ लॉकडाउन में हम हमारे घर में थे, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट and myself also, all members of all ministers, we don't sitting in our house, but we are working to 25-year developed country agenda. विकसित भारत के 25 साल के क्या एजेंडा हो सकता है, उसके पर वर्क चल रहा था, वर्क कर रहे थे। और इसलिए ये देश का भविष्य बहुत उज्जवल है। वर्तमान समय के युवा आपके नजर का, आपके विचार का विकसित भारत बनाने के लिए मेरे सभी डायस्पोरा का कंट्रीब्यूशन थॉट बहुत आवश्यक है। मुझे आज बहुत अच्छा लगा, पैनल डिस्कशन में कई ऐसे वर्ड्स का यूज करते थे जो हमारे ट्रेडिशनल वर्ड्स थे, हमारे ट्रेडिशनल थॉट से निकलता है। दुनिया में कहां भी गए हैं, लेकिन आप अपनी वैल्यूज, अपने एथोस, अपने थॉट इंडियन ही रखा है। इसलिए मैं आपको अभिनंदन करता हूं। और सभी 6 मेरे यंग लीडर्स, 12 जनवरी को ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर 30 lakhs में से कंपटीशन से निकले हुए 3000 यूथ के साथ सारे दिन डेवलप्ड कंट्री के लिए यूथ के आइडियाज को सुनेंगे। मैं आपको रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं, जो आपको सुविधा हो तो आप भी एक बार मेरे देश के यूथ क्या सोचता है, सारे देश के यूथ का अर्थ क्या निकलता है विकसित भारत के लिए, उसमें पार्टिसिपेंट करना चाहे तो मैं आपको इनविटेशन देता हूं। मैं अरेंजमेंट और व्यवस्था भी उसके लिए करता हूं। तो आप आइए और मोदी जी के साथ अपने आइडिया को भी शेयर करिए। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your energizing and inspiring concluding remarks. As I conclude this enlightening discussion, one word stands out for me, which is connectivity. I think connecting people to people, connecting capital to ideas, connecting and collaborating on education, connecting on agriculture. I think that stood out as a theme of our discussion. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. On behalf of everyone here, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all our panelists and their insights, and to the audience for their engagement. Let us carry forward the idea shared today as we work together to build a brighter, more united future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benny Bansal. May I request the people in the audience to please remain with us for some more time, please. It's a humble request. माननीय मंत्री जी, आपकी इजाजत हो, एक छोटा सा निवेदन। हमारे सर, आपने अभी इथोस और वैल्यूज की बात की। हमारे सभी पैनलिस्ट अगर हिंदी में या अपनी मदर टंग में 2 पंक्तियां ऑडियंस के सामने कहना चाहे, प्लीज। कैन वी हैव द माइक, प्लीज? जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट। कैन वी हैव द माइक, प्लीज? यू कैन कम हियर एंड से, सर ने अभी वैल्यूज की बात की, तो आप कुछ भी, या यू कैन प्लीज अपनी मदर टंग में हिंदी में कुछ भी 2 लाइन बोलना चाहे अगर, प्लीज, ऑन दिस ओकेजन to the audience. Yeah, definitely in the presence of honorable minister, sir, just few lines in Hindi or maybe your mother tongue. Yeah, please.
Can speak 2 languages.
Please, please.
मैं 2 भाषा में बात करूंगा। आपसे माफी मांगता हूँ, कुछ गलती है या कमी है मेरी भाषा में, लेकिन आप सबको इधर देख के बहुत खुशी है और आप सबको ओमान में बुलाता हूँ। നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും ഇവിടെ കണ്ടിട്ട് വളരെ സന്തോഷം. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒമാനിലേക്ക് അന്വേഷിക്കണം. നല്ല സന്തോഷത്തില്, നല്ല ഗൗരവത്തിലാണ് നമ്മളെല്ലാവരും ഇന്ന് നിൽക്കുന്നത്. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Thank you so much. So, can we ask Mr. Gill to say just few lines in maybe in Hindi or your own mother tongue, please?
थैंक यू। मैं बहुत बहुत शुक्र करता हूं कि ये मौका बहुत अच्छा मिला और ये बहुत बड़ा प्रिविलेज है मेरे लिए कि मैं फुलक्रुम बना ये 2 देशों का, और टू बी एबल टू एनहांस जरा संबंध है फिलीपींस और इंडिया का। तो मैं बहुत बहुत शुक्र करता हूं ये मौका के लिए और धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Can I request Mr. Prabhakar, please?
I'll speak in my mother language, Tamil. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். இந்த வாய்ப்பு எனக்கு கிடைச்சது ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. அதற்காக இந்தியாவின் கவர்மெண்ட்டுக்கு ரொம்ப நான் நன்றியை சொல்லிக்கிறேன். அது மட்டும் இல்ல, எனக்கு இந்த வாய்ப்பு கொடுத்த இந்தியா கவர்மெண்ட்டுக்கும் மலேசியா அரசாங்கத்துக்கும் ரொம்ப நன்றி. அவ்வளவுதான், சந்தோஷம், நன்றி.
Thank you. Mr. Shani Chandelier, if you could please say a few words, maybe in Hindi or in your own mother tongue, please.
Ji, just for context, I can't speak Hindi because I grew up in Gurgaon. So मैं सभी के लिए यही बोलना चाहती हूँ कि अपने देश के लिए जो आप कर सकते हो अपने लेवल पे आप करने की कोशिश कीजिए, and I think that will lead और वो बहुत दूर तक जाएगा. And my mother tongue is Assamese, so I would like to just say one sentence in Assamese. অসমীয়া ৰাইজক এইটোৱে ক'ব খুজিছো কি অসমৰ কাৰণে আৰু ইণ্ডিয়াৰ কাৰণে আপুনি কাম কৰি থাকক আৰু আমাৰ কালচাৰটো আমি জীয়াই ৰাখিব লাগিব।
Thank you, Ms. Chandelier. May I request Ms. Revati Pilleji to say a few words, please?
So I understand Hindi but cannot speak it, but the Tamil Morita Tamil da, mother tongue. So I'll speak in Tamil. So எல்லாரும் வணக்கம். And இந்த வாய்ப்பு கொடுத்து என்னோட Consulate General of India, South Africa ரொம்ப நன்றி சொல்லணும். And என் culture சொல்லுவா மாதா பிதா குரு தெய்வம். அதுக்காக நான் என்னோட அம்மா அப்பா மிஸ்டர் ஜீவா அண்ட் மிஸ்ஸஸ் ஜீவா பிள்ளை கண்டிப்பா நன்றி சொல்லணும். நான் உங்க பொண்ணு நினைக்கும் போது ரொம்ப பெருமைப்படுறேன். and I hope I made you proud. So அது ரொம்ப நன்றி and கண்டிப்பா கடவுளுக்கு நன்றி சொல்லணும்.
Thank you, Ms. Revati Pillai-ji. And now finally may I request Ms. Nicola Pandey-ji to say a few words.
I just want to thank you, Minister, and your government. Thank you, moderator, first. You did such a wonderful job. But Minister, thank you and your government for this wonderful opportunity for us all the way on the other side of the world to be able to come here to India. It is my first time here. It's been a wonderful opportunity. And I hope many more of us in Trinidad and Tobago will be able to visit. I have to thank the Embassy of Trinidad and Tobago, and Excellency is just wonderful. And I thank him for that opportunity. It was many flights to come, but I got here, and I thank you so much again.
Thank you, Ms. Pandya. और माननीय मंत्री जी, यहाँ पर NSS रीजनल डायरेक्टर भुवनेश्वर मिस सईदा पटेल जी जो है वो NSS के बिहाफ, उनके वॉलंटियर्स के बिहाफ पे आपको कुछ प्रेजेंट करना चाह रहे हैं. It's a surprise actually. It's an oil painting of Honorable Minister Sir. जो सर ये NSS के वॉलंटियर्स ने बनाया है आपके लिए. जोरदार ताली एक बार माननीय मंत्री जी के लिए. Our NSS volunteers of Bhubaneswar, they have made this oil painting portrait of Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Honorable Minister, sir. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up, we conclude this plenary session. Beyond Borders, Diaspora Youth Leadership in a Globalized World. We would also like to thank our panelists, and we extend a heartfelt thanks to our moderator, co-founder Flipkart, Mr. Benny Bansalji. And we thank all of you, audience. We have very many eminent personalities among our audience. We thank you all for participating in this plenary session. Please do join us for lunch, which has been organized by Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. And post-lunch, ladies and gentlemen, we have many more presentations and sessions lined up. So after lunch, we'll have session by Government of Odisha, Unraveling India's Best Kept Secret. So I'm requesting you all once again to kindly join for the lunch. Thank you for now. you.